Hi, welcome to Paint Talk, the weekly show where I sit, have a cup of coffee, and just kind of talk about oil painting. It's a little change of pace from my Monday videos where I do demonstrations and tutorials. I like to think of Paint Talk as like the time after class where you just sit with the teacher and talk shop. So that's what we're going to do today. If you're new to the channel, then welcome to Paint Coach. My name is Chris Fornatero, and I'm here to help simplify oil painting so you can get better faster. What I'm going to talk about today is what I think it takes to become good at oil painting. I've been oil painting for a long time. When I started out, I wasn't nearly as good at it as I am now. And I sat down and thought for a long time about like, what did I do to get me to this point? Like, what were some of the key things that I did that made me improve and get better? So that's what I'm going to talk about today. So hopefully you can get some, valuable information out of this. The first thing I want to talk about is I think that you need to have somebody, one person, show you the basics. Someone to introduce oil painting to you. Hopefully it's a person that you like the way they paint, their instruction. I got lucky with this when I was 17. I had no oil painting instruction whatsoever. I never oil painted before. I'd done acrylics and watercolors. My high school didn't offer oil painting. And through a family friend, we found out this guy that was teaching oil painting at a local art center. So I took that course and I'm so glad that I did. Completely changed my life now that I think about it. And it was just so helpful to be learning from one person and to have that person to go to for questions and to be working in one kind of method. And again, I got lucky in that I really liked the guy's person. I really liked the way he painted, and he was a great intro into oil painting. And the problem I see with a lot of people today is that there's so many instructors online and so much content, and people will be learning from 10 different instructors in the same year, taking a whole bunch of different tutorials. I feel that when you're starting out, it's very important to have one and stick with it for a while. So I had this one person that taught me, got me understanding the basics and just how to use the paint. Now, if you're like, hey, I don't have that person, I don't have somebody in my town that I can go to and learn the basics from, I completely understand that. What I suggest that you do is just find somebody online that you like that has a course or tutorial, and just stick with that person and their method for as long as it takes, that you feel comfortable with oil painting, that you feel like, all right, I think I got a grasp of this. I think I understand enough that if I go and take someone else's tutorials, I'm not going to get confused. Now, this is where I shamelessly plug my course, Foundations of Oil Painting. This is honestly why I made this course. I wanted to make the course that I wish I had when I first started oil painting, and just give the student the information they need to understand how oil painting works. So if you want to check that out, I'll put a link in the description below. All right, the next point is always find a way to be painting. I know this is going to be harder for some people than others. I'm not saying that you need to paint every day. I understand people are busy, you have jobs, but what I would suggest is always have a space set up where you can paint. Have your easel, have a corner. It doesn't have to be a big space. Trust me, I know. I spent over an entire year painting outside on an 8-foot by 3-foot balcony. And this was in Los Angeles, where it gets to be 100 degrees outside. And I was out there just dripping sweat painting, but I had my place to paint. I went to college, and even when I was in college on the football team, living with 3 roommates, 2 of which went to the NFL and played in the Super Bowl against each other, I still convinced them. I was like, hey, can I set up my easel here in the corner? And they're like, yeah, sure. Once I wore out my welcome in the living room, I was like, all right, maybe I should take an art class, because I didn't major in art, and I literally took just a painting class. I walked into painting 1, and I was like, I need to take this class just so I can have a studio to paint in. And I used up all of my electives on painting just so I could have access to the painting studio. And then once I got out of college and I was living in an even smaller apartment in North Hollywood with 2 other roommates, I set my easel up right next to my bed. My bed sheets ended up getting paint all over them from big canvases. But I've just, no matter my situation, I've always found a way to have an easel. There were times that I didn't paint. Man, there was times I feel like I'd go a month or so and not paint anything, just busy with life and trying to do other things. But the easel was always there. It was always there. It was always staring at me. It was always ready to go. I think that's a very important thing if you want to get good at this, is designate a place for painting actually physically in your life. Kind of like, if you build it, they will come. If you set it up, you will go and paint there eventually. All right, next big thing is always stay humble. When When I look back, the periods of time where I didn't see as much of improvement were the times that I feel like I felt the most confident in my paint. It was like, oh yeah, like I'm so good, like I know this, I know that, and I had too much confidence in my skill level. And I think that that came from not really being aware of what was out there and what other people could do and what I couldn't do and what I wanted to be able to do and couldn't. And the times that I've made the most progress are the times when I feel like I know nothing and I feel like, man, there's so much more I need to learn. And so I'm just like practicing, knowing I got so much more ahead of me. And then like a year goes by and I look back, I'm like, wow, that was a painting I did last year. I've gotten so much better from this year to last year. I still feel that way. And you want to be careful. You don't want to get the artist's curse where, you know, you feel nothing you do is good enough and you don't want to show it to anybody. Like, you know, you don't want to go into that space, but you want to be aware of when you're staying in your comfort zone and just doing things that you know you can do and kind of pull off pretty well, and when you need to step out of that comfort zone. I also highly recommend getting in a group of friends that are painters. You know, this could be even online, like my Patreon page. I specifically made the Facebook group so people could interact with other painters, see what, you know, your peers are doing, you know, ask questions, give advice. Having a peer group, you can help each other and you all can rise together. Now, even better than that, if you can figure out a way to get in a peer group where you are the weakest painter, that is the best scenario. It can be intimidating. A lot of people don't like to do that because their ego gets in the way and everybody wants to feel like a big fish in a puddle, but that's not the way you're gonna grow. I'm always looking to put myself in a situation where I am the weakest painter. I'm in a plein air group with a lot of professional plein air painters in which I am the weakest plein air painter. And every time I go out with them, I'm humbled and I realize like, wow, like I really got a lot more to learn. And I like that. If I was going out painting with people who weren't as far along as me, yeah, it'd still be fun. And you know, I'm not gonna lie, everybody likes compliments. Oh, I like your painting, this and that. But you're not gonna be pushing yourself and stretching yourself to get better. So if you wanna get better, surround yourself with people that are better than you. All right, this next point is something that I see all the time, and I don't really feel like I've ever heard anybody talk about it per se. I've heard Andrew Tischler talk a little bit about it, but it's okay to be obsessive. I mean, within reason. You know, you don't have to turn into Howard Hughes. And I really feel with any person trying to be an artist in any capacity, it takes a certain level of obsession. And the painters that I admire and professional painters, I see it in all of them. And again, like this isn't obsession in a bad way where they've, you know, completely ruined their personal lives for the obsession of their art. Like I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about like a thirst they can't quench. Like it's they cannot be painting enough. They don't have the problem of getting to the easel. They have a problem of walking away from an easel. I myself am like that. Like I can't get enough time painting. Like I never get burnt out. If there's something I'm working on and I have to like go and do something, like I'm still thinking about it. I remember when I was still waiting tables, I would be working on a painting and I'd have to go to work and I'd like take a picture of my painting. And as I was working, like I would just always be looking, looking at my phone, looking at my painting, like thinking about what I need to do, what do I need to change about the painting, what do I need to fix. Like I just couldn't get it out of my mind. When I'm out driving, walking around and I see stuff, like I'm thinking, oh, how did I paint that? Like, oh, look at those trees. That's a nice, cool shape there. That's that. And, you know, I see that with other artists. The guy I study with down here, you know, I'll be talking to him and we'll be like out painting, walking around, and he'll just like mid-sentence just be like, yeah. So, you know, we're getting coffee. Oh, look at that. That's a nice little painting right there. Like he'll just stop in the middle of his saying and just like point out like, oh, look at the light right there. That's a nice little light. And with like social media and stuff, it's so cool now because you can get like more of an insight into what painters' day-to-day lives are. And the ones that share a lot, you see like they're painting every day. There's a really good plein air painter, Daisy Hilditch. She posts a lot. I mean, this girl's out there like plein air painting, it seems like every single day. And plein air painting is like not an easy thing to do just physically. Like you gotta get the stuff, you gotta pack it in your backpack, you gotta get out there, you gotta set up, you gotta deal with the elements. And she's out there a lot. Another painter, Jim McVicker, he's a landscape painter. He's out painting every single day. On days where it's like cloudy or it's raining or he can't get out there, he is setting up a really elaborate, awesome still life inside or doing a figure painting of something inside that day. You know, if you're watching my video, you've probably seen Andrew Tischler's videos. He's talked about this before where he'll just, you know, knock out 16 hours on the easel in a day easily. And I think the key to this is to really love doing it, really enjoy doing it. When you're enjoying doing it, sitting down for, you know, 8 hours in painting, it's not like, oh man, like 8 hours of painting. No, it's like, no, that was great. There's nothing else I'd rather be doing. I'm grateful I can sit down and paint for 8 hours. And this comes back to something I've said before, which is, you know, fall in love with the process, not the end product. You know, don't be painting for the nice, pretty painting at the end. You know, really enjoy the process of painting. Like, really enjoy seeing where your skill level is at in every painting, trying to up that skill level. Now, I know a lot of you are probably like thinking like, oh, enjoy the process. It's hard when, you know, nothing's turning out right. It's like, I understand. Like, I've made more bad paintings than I've made good paintings. I know it's very frustrating, but you also have to honor the effort, which is the last point that I want to talk about. If you really want to get good at this, you need to change your mindset, and you need to stop thinking about any time a painting doesn't turn out how you wanted as a failed painting or a waste of time. Because the truth is, you are going to fail more than you're going to succeed. And if you think that it is a waste of time, then you're going to see painting in general as a waste of time. Because if the majority of your paintings aren't turning out well, then the majority of your time painting is wasted, then you're going to see painting as a waste of time. And when you see it as a waste of time, it's going to be very easy for you to not do it, or to put other things in front of it of importance, or say it's not worth it, or you're no good, or you don't have the art gene. So honor the effort that you actually sat down and painted, because a lot of people don't. There are a lot more people that have it on their bucket list or some list or vision board or something saying like, I'm gonna learn how to oil paint, and they never do. They don't go, they don't buy the paints, they don't sit down, they don't try and learn, they don't do it out of fear. But you're actually doing it. You've conquered the hardest part actually, which is the fear of just starting. So be aware of that. Just know that you had to paint that bad painting to get to the good ones. There was no way around it. You were gonna have to make a bad painting one way or another. At least you got it out of the way now, and you're one step closer to better painting. All right, I'm out of coffee, which means paint talk is over. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you got a question or comment, leave it in the comment section below. And if you want to see what I'm painting on a daily basis, you can follow me on Instagram at Forza43. I'm Chris Fornatero here telling you to go get painting.